The co-op mode in One Piece Treasure Cruise is a complete disaster, but here are 5 ways to considerably improve it. Number 1, we have to talk about the performance issues and they need to get resolved. They have been working on this mode for approximately a year now, maybe even longer than that behind the scenes, and this is a finished product. We have so many disconnection issues ruining people's runs, we have so many problems with lag and stutters during the quest where you cannot perform your attacking chain properly and hit the perfects, so you can't deal enough damage sometimes because of that to beat the boss and the run is once again ruined. And have in mind, they put out an update to fix some issues, they maybe even became worse. A lot of people couldn't even store their multis in the previous cycle. The pooling in this cycle is not yet available, but majority of the performance issues seem to remain. And this is a mode, mind you, that was advertised heavily and hyped for the 10th anniversary, had issues on release, and still has them after a month. So for me, if the issues are not resolved when it is time for cycle number 3, Bandai should not release the next cycle until the issues are resolved. If they release it again for cycle 3 with the same exact problems, it is an absolute joke and it will feel like a slap to the face for all players. We are the ones who are going to feel like idiots at the end of the day for trying to play a mode that honestly, right now, doesn't even seem 100% ready to be released to the public. Number 2. They absolutely have to improve the quest guides. They are subpar to say the least. They only talk about and include the different variations of main bosses we can encounter, completely disregarding the different mini bosses that are randomized every single run in every different stage, and one of them even appears alongside the main boss. So even if you do prepare based on the quest guide to deal with all of the mechanics, you still might not be able to clear the quest because of the mini bosses. To add to that, a lot of mini bosses have turn 1 mechanics if you leave them alive, which means we go into the quest blindly against the mini bosses in the first place. We don't know what they do. We need to go in and figure it out for our own and then memorize the debuffs, apparently, because that is great game design. And not only do we not know about the debuffs in the first place, but if we leave some of them alive, they can provide extra turn 1 debuffs, which we also of course do not know about. So now we were unprepared to face the mini bosses, we failed to take both of them out, let's say in stage 4, we only took one of them out and now the second one applies extra debuffs which we didn't know about. But of course we don't even know turn 1 debuffs for the main boss. We obviously are not gonna know them for the mini bosses with the horrible quest guides currently present in the co-op quests. Number 3. The randomization of every quest is simply too much in my opinion, especially combined with the fact that we simply do not know what enemies and what debuffs we are about to face other than the main boss. I understand the main boss being randomized, they want the quest to not feel repetitive, especially being played by 2 people. That is something I get. But the fact that we have different mini bosses that can rotate in different combinations, not only alongside the main boss, but also in the previous stages, without us knowing what debuffs they can provide, is simply dumb. Because in stage number 3, let's say we get Jack and Kaido in one run, they provide their own debuff, and then in the next run, in stage 3, we all of a sudden get Marco and Whitebeard, 2 completely different mini bosses that provide 2 completely different things. And we prepared to face all different main bosses in the final stage, but all of a sudden we have a randomized mini boss alongside them that might provide a debuff that we simply cannot deal with, and then we don't know what the turn 1 mechanics are, as I mentioned before, so our run might even be screwed completely. If of course the app doesn't crash, or we don't completely disconnect from our partner and the run is ruined anyway. Even though it seems like we have a specified pool of possible mini-bosses for its difficulty, it is still annoying to see the same mini-boss possibly in stage 3 or in the final stage. So something I would here improve is to, yes, have different variations for every single stage, but first of all, we should know about them in the quest guide, and second of all, each stage should have their specific variations. For example, in stage number 3, either we should see combination A of mini-bosses or combination B or C perhaps, but these can only appear in stage number 3, not possibly in stage 3 or in stage 5. We should see specific variations for stage 3, specific variations for stage 4, and then the main boss perhaps with another mini-boss, only if we know about them, otherwise scrap that extra mini-boss and only allow us to face the one main boss in the final stage. And it's not like I'm asking for anything absurd, they do the exact same thing for Blitz battles. In the anniversary Blitz battle, we saw 2 different variations possible to appear in stage 3, Odin or Rayleigh doing different stuff. I am suggesting the same thing to happen in the co-op quests, but with 2 mini-bosses in the variations, not 1, simply because we are 2 players tackling the quest, not 1. And that will happen to stage 3 and 4 and generally the previous stages before the final stage. But if, let's say, in stage 3 we get variation A with 2 characters and we don't see variation B in a specific run, variation B won't all of a sudden have its main bosses appear in stage 5, for example, alongside the main boss. If variation B does not appear in stage 3, then it can't appear again in the entirety of the quest. That's what I mean by specified variations for each stage, because now I just feel like the quest has too much randomness in it, especially for a game like One Piece Treasure Cruise, where we should prepare a team to deal with the debuffs we are about to face. Moving on to improvement number 4 though, I simply think the duration of the event should be longer. It is currently approximately a week and it is in a sense used to fill the gap between the start of the new Pirate King Adventures season and the start of Treasure Map. But I feel like the co-op quest mode shouldn't really be just filler, it should be something available for a longer period of time so we can experiment with different teams, different co-op partners and stuff like that. Especially since we are able to use normal stamina on that mode, which is not used for anything anymore anyway. So why limit it so much? Maybe it is because it is tied to a Sugofest, but then again the Sugofest gives you specific amount of stored pools either way. Perhaps they just don't want you to have more chances by collecting stones to get more pools. But the thing is, I wanted the co-op quest mode to feel like a mode I can log in whenever and have some fun with, play with randoms, play with a friend, whatever, and not like a mode that I have to log in and I have to play in that specific period of time, like essentially every other mode in One Piece Treasure Cruise. Let's be real for a minute, just think about it. With everything we have also discussed so far, the performance issues, the randomness, and the bad quest guides, are we supposed to feel excited to log into the game during the limited period of time the co-op quest mode is active now, to play a quest with different variations of a main boss that we need to prepare for, randomized mini-bosses that we can't prepare for, with possibly a randomized partner as well? How does that make sense? And I get that we can play with an alliance member or a friend, but not everyone has that to play with. A lot of people will obviously play with randomized partners, and the mode should also be designed around that logic too. It just doesn't really seem a good idea to me to limit that in a week. After the initial excitement of the new mode has completely faded away, which for a lot of people it already has with all of the problems the mode has, why would someone log into One Piece Treasure Cruise wanting to do that and get involved with all of the randomness and not play Pirate King Adventures or another quest in the game, or better yet, maybe play a completely different game? The rewards are not that extraordinary, we don't get tons of gems and we need to do specific challenges either way, And a lot of rewards revolve around the co-op quest mode as well, like luck drops for example. And Grand Fist stones, but at least you can use those to do multis, I guess, but again, I think the time is way too limited for the rewards you provide, because yes, I can get multis, but it's not like from those multis I am about to get some super Sugofest legends. I still do think that the general idea of the co-op quests is interesting, but the execution of it so far just doesn't seem that appealing to me and a lot of other players that have expressed their opinion either through my previous video in the comments or that I have seen online through social media. And for number 5, the improvement I would make is either make the boosted list better, richer, with more units that are not just units that released in the previous Sugofest to make people pull the trash new Zoro. I would just make the boosted list include older units as well. For example, some older legends that people could use as their captain, not the co-op captain, but the normal one. Or better yet, maybe I would just remove the boosted list because, you know, God forbid you let people team build in peace with whatever units they want in the game that was originally supposed to make you do that anyway. We don't need a boosted list attached to every single thing released in the game. Zoro and Sanji were the boosted list units for pirating adventures. They don't need to be here for the damn co-op quest as well. I get it, they want to reward whales and people that pull for new units. And I get it, it is nice to see some extra drops, but I'm so tired of boosted lists in this game. Just increase the drop rate by a bit and remove the boosted list completely. Let people use their imaginations and actually team build with the units that have available in their box. And one final thing that is not that important obviously, but it tilts me so I need to mention it. The button right here that says detailed rules, quote unquote detailed rules, anyway, if we press it and we see the rules, does the text need to be this specific font and size so I have to waste my lifespan to read it, or can we like change it a bit to make it more presentable? I just had to get this off my chest. These are the 5 ways I would initially improve the co-op quests mode though, and I would love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you perhaps have a better idea? Let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.